I'd like to call this meeting of the Westland City Council to order, please. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, tonight led by Constantine and Lucian Manthe. There we go. Perfect.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'll stay right there, Councilman Hammonds will be right down to talk to you.
That was pretty awesome.
You guys did an outstanding job. Come on up here this way. We'll face the crowd. Constantine, we're going to start with you, so come right over here. Right here. You stay right here. Nice job, guys. How you doing today? Good? All right, I'm going to talk about a little bit about Constantine first. It says here that your name is Constantine, and you're from the world's greatest elementary school, home of the Taft Tigers. This year, you're in first grade, and your teacher is Miss Patella. Your favorite thing about being a Taft Tiger is you have an amazing teacher, especially Mrs. Patella and Mrs. Bullock. And your favorite food is Burger King. What do you like at Burger King?
I like their fries and I like their burgers.
Bacon double cheeseburger?
No, just a normal cheeseburger.
Perfect. You'll work your way to the bacon double cheeseburger in a little bit, okay? It says, when you're at home, you like to play the Nintendo Switch. What are your favorite games?
Fortnite and Super Mario Party and Super Mario Odyssey.
Okay. And then Fortnite, do you like to play solo, duos? Which one do you like?
I normally play solo, but when my brother joins, I play duos.
Okay. And are you a good builder at that game?
I don't build. I just hide behind trees.
You sound like me. When I play with my boys, I just hide in the houses and the sheds, and I get the airplane and fly it around, so I know how you feel, all right? It says you want to thank everybody at school and everybody in your family. You also want to thank your two best friends, Casey and Eva. That's awesome. Ava Ray. I'm sorry. Ava Ray. Well, thanks for leading us in the pledge today. I got a nice certificate for you. Hang on. Don't go anywhere. Stay right here. You're good. Stay on this side. This is on behalf of the mayor, Westland City Council, and our clerk. Here you go. Hang on to this. Thanks again. Nice job. All right. We also have Lucian with us today, and he's also from the world's greatest elementary school, home of the Taft Tigers. And this year he's in fourth grade. And who's your teacher?
Miss Ria.
And do you have any other teachers besides her?
In kindergarten, I had a favorite teacher, Miss Tornagato.
Okay, all right. Your favorite thing about being a Taft Tiger is your safety. Tell me a little bit about being a safety.
Well, you got to help out the younger kids. You got to make sure that you help out.
Make sure that when cars are coming, you stop everyone from walking in front of the cars, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And it says here you love being a safety because you love helping out younger students, and that's outstanding. It says here your favorite food is?
Cheeseburgers.
And what's your favorite item on the cheeseburger?
Onions.
How did you find out you liked onions?
Because they're good.
They are pretty good. You're just going to have to be careful when you get older and start chasing girls, okay? Does you also enjoy playing soccer and basketball? Are you on a team right now?
No. Yes. Football.
Okay. Well, good luck in football this year. And last but not least, it says you'd like to thank your mom, your dad, your 4 brothers, 2 sisters, and your uncle for an amazing family and them for always being here for you. Well, that's outstanding. You keep up the good work at school, all right? And on behalf of the Westland City Council, the mayor, and the city clerk, here's your certificate. We're going to have your mom come on up, and your dad, and your principal, Mr. Cox. Come on up.
Thanks.
And
did it go off?
No, I should think. First and foremost, we are very honored that you invited us here to your meeting. Our students are very forthcoming. They are wonderful kids. We do have the world's greatest elementary school. I got there in April. I made that claim, and now not only do I believe it, but every single student believes it in our entire student body. So I'm thankful to be the principal at Taft Elementary, and I'm thankful to have these two wonderful young men represent us here this evening.
Thank you. We appreciate you letting them come out tonight, and thanks again to your parents for coming out, having them come out. We're going to take a quick picture, and you guys can go, okay?
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green. Present. Councilman Hart is absent, excused. Councilman Hammonds. Here. Councilman Hersberg. Here. Councilman Johnson. Here. Councilman Londo. Here. President Godbout.
Present.
A quorum is present.
Begin with announcements and presentations. Don?
Thank you, Jim. My name is Don Ostwin. I'm a member of the Westland Rotary, and I have Dan Jones, a member of the Ann Arbor Magic Club. We have an announcement we'd like to share that the Westland Rotary will be presenting this year the Magic of Giving Magic Show. That's right, that we had a couple years ago. It'll be presented by the Ann Arbor Magic Club. It'll be Saturday, March 30th at 2 o'clock at the Stockmeyer Auditorium at Wayne Memorial High School. Doors will open at 1 o'clock. We'll be having performers performing in the auditorium at 1 for all the people coming in, and an intermission. Tickets are $10 a ticket. Kids needing financial assistance with the ticket to contact they can contact the Westland Rotary. We are very lucky to get Vic Barra from Westland to donate a nice sum of money to make sure that all kids have an opportunity to go to the show. He's actually given us enough for 100 kids, and I'm sure we can get more donors if kids need help. Okay, so
Don, can I show them a trick now? No, come on. People want to see a trick. Come on, just.
We're timed.
I know, but they'll love it.
You got 2.5 minutes.
We can do it. Okay, let me show. Everybody might not know it, but Don and I have been performing magic together for many, many years. I know we look so young, but Don taught me this trick years ago when we were working together in the lunchroom. Would you guys like to see it? Sure. Oh, I'm glad you said that. Great. So we're in the lunchroom. Don says, Dan, would you like to learn a magic trick? I said, sure. I just finished eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, some pickles and potato chips, and Don took my lunch bag and he showed everybody that it was empty. And we also had a 6-pack of Coca-Cola. One of our favorite things to drink. Oh, yeah, Coca-Cola. And so Don said he was going to show me a trick with a bottle of Coke. Again, showed everybody the lunch bag was empty, and he took one of the bottles of Coke, get it open here, put it down inside the bag just like that, and he said he was going to make it vanish. All you have to do is say 1, 2, 3, snap your fingers, and it vanishes from the bag. I was amazed. I'm
amazed too, because I recall this.
No, they're loving it. He said 1, 2, 3, snap your fingers, and it reappears inside the bag. Amazing trick, amazing. I thought it was the greatest trick I'd ever seen.
Really?
Well, some people here didn't, but wait. Don did the trick again, so I'll do the trick again. Watch closely now. There's the bottle. Down inside the bag. 1, 2, 3, snap your fingers, and it vanishes from the bag. Now wait. Someone in the lunchroom said, you're holding on to it. Yeah, you catch on quick. Don looked inside the bag, so I'll look inside the bag. Nope, it's completely gone, vanished from the bag. He said, 1, 2, 3, snapped his fingers, and it reappeared just like magic. Now, some people in the lunchroom didn't think it was an amazing trick, as I think some people here don't. But
listen, I'll tell you what. Nice. I really want to thank you for letting us come and present and show that this is what is going on. There'll be a lot of fun. I really hope to see all of you there. Thank you very much. You guys have a nice night. Be careful going home. It's supposed to be really icy.
Thanks, Don. Everyone thought it was a great trick except the guy that works for Pepsi.
I'm a Mountain Dew drinker. It means anything.
So are many others. They did make the Coke disappear.
Before we begin our citizens' questions or input on the agenda, I'm going to recognize Councilman Landau to make an amendment to the agenda.
Thank you, President Gabau. Just want to amend the agenda to include item 2A, which is in front of all the council members, that reads, resolution concerning unpaid federal workers and penalties for late payment of city water bills.
Is a motion to amend the agenda to include item 2A? Motion and support. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously. We'll now move on to citizens' questions or input on the agenda. Citizens will be recognized before the business of the meeting commences to address the council pertaining to items that are specifically on the business agenda. Citizens are asked to limit their questions or input to 3 minutes. Is there anyone on my left? Yes.
Well, good evening to the council and to the deputy mayor. Mike McDermott, 652 Forest Street. My question is on the unfinished business, item 1, pertaining to the Westland Eagle. A few questions. Number 1, some clarification in terms of who exactly owns this paper. And there seems to be, at least in my mind and the mind of some residents, confusion as to who the owner is. And ultimately, once we decipher that, the city of Westland has to write a check to somebody for the business that we're doing. Who is that check being made out to? Is it being made out to an individual or a business name? Who is the city of Westland exactly paying in terms of that business on the associated papers, or as they're allegedly called? Thank you.
Anyone on my right? Yes.
Richard Graham from Westland, and also with Move Westland Forward. Excellent question. I wonder if the owner's here tonight of the Eagle. Regarding unfinished business on the agenda regarding the city's newspaper, in 2017, the Eagle, right before the election, published what many residents felt was a hate-filled column on the front page. This article provided comments by Mr. Arthur Warren, suggesting now State Representative Coleman, Council Pro Tem Herzberg, my wife, and myself as promoting racism. The Eagle is a private paper and can publish anything it wishes. The Observer is owned by a large corporate entity that I am sure has ethical procedures in place to halt articles like this. Westland has promoted itself under Mayor Wild as a compassionate city. The city should be building bridges, not walls. City Council, if you approve the Eagle as our city's newspaper, you are continuing or promoting the spread of hatred and division that has hurt our city. Voting for the Observer would mean a zero cost increase versus last year. The Eagle's bid is less than 5% lower than the Observer. Placing of ads costs the city approximately $4,000 per year, so this is less than $200. Some may state fiscal responsibility to pick the Eagle, but it is less than $200, and the city has proven over and over again to spend freely on lavish Las Vegas trips. Some may state about editorials just being part of politics and elections. This article was not an editorial. It was on the front page and passed all over town. Some may state the Observer currently breaks our ordinance for passing out newspapers in driveways. In 2017, before the ordinance, but a driving factor to adopt the ordinance, the Eagle blanketed the city with this publication via tossing on driveways, mailing to residents, and even a member of the fire department, passing it out at City Hall. The Eagle can do it again during the 2019 election with very limited ramifications. Let me comment from the article. Mr. Warren claims that Coleman displayed racist tactics during his campaign. Move Westland Forward is on the edge of neo-Nazism and the Ku Klux Klan, and continue to call into question Councilman Herzberg's character. What is also interesting, the political ads in this specific paper that was led by our Mayor Wild. In conclusion, the Observer has its issues, no question, but it is also part of a large corporate company specializing in newspapers. This company would not be so likely to expose itself to lawsuits based on this type of article from a private newspaper. City Council, vote to move the city forward and do not let hate speech win. Thank you.
Is there anyone on my left? Anyone on my right? Anyone else in the audience? We'll close citizens' comments on the agenda and move on to the consent calendar. Is there a motion? Motion by Councilman Johnson, supported by Councilman Hersberg. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Councilwoman Green.
Yes, thank you. Item number D on the consent calendar, I'm looking for clarification. In our council packet, unless I missed it, it did not detail what the purpose of the split is for on Ann Arbor, the land division request. Does anybody know what the purpose or the intended outcome for the split is? Thank you.
Council President, simply note that it was approved by Council back in September 17th of last year, and I don't recall at this time what the discussion was in that council meeting.
Okay.
Is the person who made the request, are they here tonight?
No. Not that I'm aware of.
This is procedural.
Is there any other discussion on this item?
Jimmy?
Yes.
Just a question. This says that it was approved September 17th. Why do we have it back again?
So, Council, you actually get these back after, in every instance, after you make these decisions. They come back after we prepare various legal descriptions and set them back. This is, 3 or 4 months later. It's longer than normal. I can't exactly explain what the delay was, but you do see these generally a couple of 8 weeks kind of thing after you pass them in the council meetings.
Sure. City Clerk would like to weigh in on this.
Just to dovetail with what the city attorney says, this particular one, if I'm not mistaken, the reason it took a little bit longer is because the county has to weigh in on all of these. And there was an instance where a connection between the county and the city could not be made for a bit of time. But as the city attorney says, you know, each of these come back. It may be a few weeks later than usual, but this is very procedural. We have addressed this multiple times during our service.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes, thank you, Clerk LeBlanc. I'm not disputing what it is. I'm just noting for the record that, especially if we're getting something 90 to 120 days later, after the fact, it would definitely be appreciated if future packets, and if it's been previously approved, we look at so many of these every 2 weeks, if that information could be included in future packets so that we know that this is not something brand new that we're being asked to approve, and that we have the information in terms of what exactly that is before us again. So if that could be noted as a future request, but thank you for clarifying the information that has been provided tonight.
Going back to that meeting, the property was zoned R5 single-family residential and is developed with a single-family home. The petitioner proposes to split the lot and create a 60-foot wide, 134 deep lot for construction of a new single-family home.
Is that from the, is my microphone on?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Is that from, are you looking at the packet from September?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so the only thing that I was stating is that it is now almost the end of January. If we could have that included as a piece of documentation so that we have all the information in front of us before making a decision. It's not easy to remember almost 120 days worth of prior information when we are looking at packets, some of them almost up to 200 pages depending on our agenda. So for the record, thank you for going back to the September packet, but I'm stating that if there is a delay in the future, if you can just please ensure that that is included in the packet, that would be awesome. Thank you.
I made a note. I'll tell staff.
We'll ask the clerk to have that. We get the packet on Wednesday, and we're able to go back. All of the packets are archived, they're online, so you could go back and look if you had a question on it prior to the meeting.
Well, the purpose of making a decision.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Councilwoman Green, you're out of order.
I'm actually discussing this. Can you please turn my microphone on?
What if someone else wants to speak?
Councilman Landau.
I don't want to speak. I'm just asking what if someone else wants to speak.
Thank you, but you did not, he did not, I have
Councilwoman
the
Green,
floor.
go ahead.
Thank you. The purpose of making a decision is to have the information in front of you. I don't feel that it is an imposition to politely ask that information that is almost 120 days old be included. So I don't know why you're making an issue of my request when you just had to pull up a packet from September to give me the information that previously the attorney said he wasn't even, he didn't even remember it. So I'm just clarifying for the record, this is not to be difficult, but I think it is completely reasonable, and I would like to see it in the future. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Any other discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
Council has approved the following consent calendar items. Minutes of the regular meeting held January 7, 2019. Minutes of the study session held January 7, 2019. Adoption of second quarter budget amendments for fiscal year ending June 30, 2019. This item was introduced January 7, 2019. Adoption of land division resolution, parcel number 00699 0003001 30922 Ann Arbor Trail, north side of Ann Arbor Trail, east of Merriman. This was Planning Department number 2220. This land division was approved by City Council September 17, 2018. Moving to unfinished business. Item 1, approval of bid for the official city newspaper. Administration recommends the low bidder, the Associated Newspaper of Michigan. Amount, $3.95 per column inch. This item was postponed January 7, 2019.
Make a motion to deny based on circulation and it being a weekly newspaper versus a twice per week. Support.
There's a motion to deny. There's not another item on the agenda to allow for consideration at this point of an alternative. And so I think the motion would have to be for a recommendation for a different source for the newspaper, not a motion to deny.
I will withdraw my support.
May I withdraw the motion, make a new motion to amend the language to reflect the new vendor as observer in eccentric newspapers?
I would support that, and I'd like to amend that motion just a little bit if I could. I'd like to add some contractual language that reads, the provider of these services shall comply with all city ordinances. Failure to do so will result in cancellation of the contract with a 30-day notice.
Is there support for the amendment to that motion? Support. Support by Councilman Hammonds. Mr. Fasson?
So the contract, or the motion would be to approve as the official city newspaper, the Observer Eccentric, with the provision read in by Councilman Johnson. Council should understand that it has the right to add this additional term into this, but it does change the bid package that went out, and therefore the Observer Eccentric, or anybody, if you did this, would have the opportunity to reject this contract because you've added a new term. So that's fine. You just should understand sort of this. What you're doing is sort of making a counteroffer, if you will.
Question, if I could, to the city attorney through the chair. Sure. And the process would be we would have to send it back out for bids if they decline, or we would do, what would we have to do at that point?
At that point, I think the council can decide to either go back to one of the two bidders who bid on the original document, the original bid proposal, with or without the contract provision. And if you so chose, you could direct administration to go back out again for bids with this in. But I'll remind you, you have a charter provision that requires the identification of an official newspaper here in your January meeting.
Correct. And again, going back out for bids, you may or may not get a new one. Everybody knows what this edition is about, I think. We have to do something to get their attention, to stop them from throwing these newspapers in people's front yards who obviously don't want them. I guess we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it if they decide not to take it, though. Thank you.
So there is a motion, and there's also an amendment. So first we need to vote on the amendment to the motion. And if the clerk would read the amendment to the motion.
Yes, so moved by Councilman Johnson, supported by Councilman Hammonds. What I have says, the provider of these services shall comply with all city ordinances. Failure to do so will result in the cancellation of this contract with a 30-day notice. All right.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment to the motion? Any further discussion on the amendment? Hearing no, is there any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no. Oh, it's not.
2 minutes. Thank you, Council President. In addition to Councilman Johnson's amendment, I would like to request that City Council see the contract and verify that our requested amended language has been added to our satisfaction before the contract goes out. Because once it is executed, regardless of what we feel should have been in there, it is an executed contract and we are stuck. So I would ask that council have the opportunity to review the contract before it is executed to ensure that we as a body are satisfied with the verbiage. Thank you.
Do we need a... Yes, Mr. Clerk.
From our office, that's not the way procedurally and legally that it works. What we do in our office is whatever the city council decides is placed in writing. Notification goes from our office to various offices. And it's not a suggestion and it's not a question, it's a statement. So that the contract that would be signed would in fact include that verbiage. And then as the city attorney says, whether the other party elects to sign it is a different matter. But it will go out with that language.
Through the chair to the clerk, the reason why and thank you for clarifying that, I have had discussion with other councilmen who are sitting here with me, And we have discussed contracts that we thought language was going to be included in, and we learned after the contract had been executed that it in fact was not included. So there are other municipalities that when a contract goes before their council, that contract is included in their packet for review. Now, we're asking for an amendment, but it is not abnormal for city council to view a contract before it is executed. So if you're saying that there's no legal possibility for us to view that.
Not saying that.
Okay. So, well, I'm just stating for the record that we have discussed previous contracts that we thought that there was going to be binding language in, and it was not included. So that is the reason why I was asking to review it first.
In all instances where the council has adopted an agenda item, that exact item, whether amended or not, is the item that has been forwarded for signatures.
Thank you.
Could you read the whole motion? I was just going to say I'm lost. Not that hard.
This is on the item, the amendment was already
Yes.
passed.
Yes.
So now we'll have the motion. If you could reread the approval.
Approval of bid for the official city newspaper. The administration recommended the low bidder, the Associated Newspaper of Michigan, in the amount of $3.95 per column inch. This item was postponed January 7, 2019. A motion by Councilman Hersberg, supported by Councilman Johnson, amended the vendor to be the Observer and Eccentric newspaper, is what I wrote. That's what I heard.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? I'd like to make a comment on this in regards to the fact that the bid for the city newspaper went out in its normal format. We received 2 bids. The Eagle was the low bidder. There was significant discussion at the last meeting in regards to the reason that it was postponed as to being more about editorial content and not about the bid itself. And over the course of time, just from a personal note, I've had derogatory articles written about me from both newspapers. So to base our bid off of the editorial content versus the financial interests of the city, I've got an issue with, so I will be dissenting from that motion. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Hammonds. Yes. Councilman Hart is absent. Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
President Godbout.
No.
Motion passes. Moving to item 2A. Adoption of resolution concerning unpaid federal workers and penalties for late payment of city water bills.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Landau, supported by Councilman Hersberg. Is there any discussion? Councilman Landau?
Thanks, President Gaba. I just wanted to publicly thank the administration for bringing this compassionate resolution towards us. We actually had a coffee hour on Saturday, and one of the young ladies in the room today asked that very question. What is the city of Westland doing for our federal workers? And I really appreciate you guys bringing this forward. I'll be supporting it.
Councilman Hammonds?
Through the chair to the administration, if someone can just comment on what the resolution is about, please.
Mr. Smith?
Through the chair. Basically, the resolution extends the deadline for paying the water bills by not charging penalties for those affected by the government shutdown. And if there's any questions, they can call the office, 734-467-3169.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Green?
Yes, I would just like to say, just like Councilman Londo, that I am very pleased to see this resolution. The county has already done a furlough for federal employees for their taxes, so I'm very happy that our city is taking a proactive step in order to help people who are suffering with the shutdown. So thank you, and I will be voting in favor as well.
Is there any further discussion? Any discussion? Just make a comment. I too am in support of this motion. I asked earlier today about doing the same thing on the taxes, and I know that the county, I guess, has already waived, so I think, and we have some time on the tax issue that we could bring forward a resolution in regards to taking similar steps for people, federal workers, on their tax bill, which is due the end of February. So if we can get some clarification, Mr. Smith, and find out if in fact we can do that along with, to follow what the county did on theirs.
Yes, through the chair, we'll get clarification, but just so council, you've already extended the winter deadline till February 28th.
Right.
And that at that time it gets transferred over to the county on any unpaid taxes. So it sounds like they've already did that. So we should be good on the winter bill up until February 28th.
Yes, through the chair to city attorney or the clerk, whoever wants to answer. Could we vote on that tonight if we're able to do that and get it done and get it passed tonight? I'd like to do that if we can.
Mr. Fasson?
For clarification, I think what the Director of Finance is indicating is that because you've already extended the tax bill to February 28th, at which point it will become a county tax, and the county's already provided unpaid federal workers a reprieve. Your Westland residents who fit that category will have that county reprieve. The city won't really need to do anything because you've already extended to February 28th, if I understand Mr. Smith correctly.
The only question I would have on that is, once it goes down to the county, there's an additional fee that gets tacked on to the tax bill that if we delayed it going down to the county, that fee would not necessarily take place as part of what we would bill to the county. Is that not correct?
So through the chair, the county puts, as of March 1st, they put a 4% administrative fee on the unpaid taxes. That's a county fee. And then they charge 1% per month that it's delinquent. So I'm not sure what the county passed. I haven't seen it. So, but if they have indeed passed that, then I would assume they're taking care of that 4% administrative fee as well when they did that.
My recommend is we pass this resolution as written, and it'll give Mr. Smith time to check with the county. We still have some time before the February tax bill is due, and if necessary, we can pass another resolution for the taxes at the next meeting. Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously.
New business item 2, approval of voucher.
Is there a motion? Motion by Councilman Johnson. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Councilman Landau. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any dissent? Any dissent? Hearing no dissent, motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to citizens' comments or requests. Citizens will be recognized at the end of the meeting immediately following the agenda item approval of vouchers. Citizens are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. All citizens wishing to speak will be heard. Is there anyone on my left?
Good evening, City Council. Kevin Coleman, your state representative. I want to thank the council for changing their mind about the city newspaper. We've seen newspapers criticize politicians, but I think what the Eagle did was improper. I haven't really spoke about it publicly since then, but I'll just say that right before an election, It looked like it went beyond the political and it became personal. And I think when publications are attacking city officials like Councilman Hertzberg and myself, I think that reflects on the city, you know, if we choose to do business with them. So just want to thank you for your decision there. I did have a correction. One of my coffee hours did change dates, and that'll be the one that I announced a little ahead of time. That's the one at the end of February. That's February 20. I think I announced it for the 26th, but Senator Polhanke asked that we change the date to the 28th. So that'll be a Thursday, 6:30 p.m. at Tim Hortons on Michigan Avenue in Wayne. So I just wanted to correct that. And then the next Westland date coming up, which will be with Commissioner Glenn Anderson, that'll be Monday, February 11th at 9 a.m. at Big Boy on Wayne Road. Also, thank you for supporting our federal workers, and hopefully the shutdown ends soon. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone on my right? Yes.
Tony Farrak. I'm on the 1200 block of Denise Street in Westland. One comment is, Ms. Green, you're spot on. I'm glad you're working with us. But this room has an induction loop system for people that have hearing loss. So I can, if you, we can talk about that outside here if you're interested in what that is. When you cut off a microphone, you're cutting off me too. So please, if don't mute anybody on purpose. The other comment I had was, I don't know what's different, but the second day after the storm, my street was plowed. So the city did a much, much better job than it has done in the past. Whatever you've done this year, keep it up. Thank you.
One on my left. Yes.
Good evening to the council. Deputy Mayor again, Mike McDermott again, 652 Forest Street here in Westland. I want to thank the council for voting on the change with the newspaper. I think there was far too much confusion centered around who actually was the owner of the associated papers, whether or not they were registered with Lara here in the state of Michigan to even be a registered business in the state. Certainly some of the editorial information that they have done in the past, whether it was to Councilman Herzberg, former Councilman and State Representative Coleman. I'm glad to see that we have made this change over to the Observer and eccentric newspapers. I also want to thank our DPW workers here in the city of Westland. My street too was plowed on day number 2 after the snowstorm. So I was able to get out of my driveway and out of my street free and clear, and I think everybody over there on Forest and up there by Hamilton Elementary is very thankful for the hard work of our DPW people. And then a question on the amendment tonight for federal workers. Will that also include contracted workers and those whose businesses do business with the federal government but may be furloughed at this time because of the inactivity with the federal government? Having worked on contract myself, never with the federal government, but in a contracted position, I know what it's like to live by the skin of your teeth when you're working as a contracted employee. And if this amendment that has been adopted here tonight is extended to contract workers, I think it would make it that much better. But thank you to Councilman Londo for putting that forward to begin with. Thank you.
Is there anyone on my right? Ray?
Just wanted to say a few words tonight about federal workers. I do feel sorry for them. It's sad that they're not getting paid, and I'm glad that they're working with them. It's very important because we have to put ourselves in their shoes. We can be in that situation. So I'm really glad that it's happening everywhere. I think it's good that they're doing that. And also the cold spell we've had. I want to thank the fire departments and the police department out working out in that cold weather. And, you know, us all, you know, call your loved ones because you don't know. I mean, when people in wheelchairs, walkers, whatever, just check on them. Because, you know, that type of temperature like that, you can be frostbitten, you can die. I mean, 2 people have died during this weather already. So I just wanted to say something about that. And I wanted to say, Tasha Green, thanks for going to my meeting tonight. Matter of fact, I think 3 of us members got renewed, and I love it, and I'm going to continue driving the system and keep, my passion is keep doing what I'm doing as a chair. It's important to me. And I'm also, with the Youth Group Assistance Program I speak at, a matter of fact, I'm getting an award next week for talking about my life, not being in jail and into that situation, living a life today in a positive way, because I don't want to see kids end up in jail. And it's not a good thing. And I tell you, I open up a lot of eyes and get a lot of good feedback off of that. So looking forward to next week. Thank you.
The one on my left. Mr. Warren.
Just 2 things in regards to America. America has a free press. Opinions, praise, and criticisms can be placed in any paper. And the public can make a decision whether they like it or not. So that's what makes America great. You can disagree or you can agree. But I say one thing is that all the critics never did put a counter opinion in the paper or any paper. So you made a decision, that's good. The Observer also has an opinion page, and it can deal with politics, for criticism or praise. Okay? Second thing is that to the fire chief, you're running a campaign on standby your pan. And I would just like some information on the number of fires, if you have it with you tonight, in regards to this situation, because it seems to be very important since you have billboards out in regards to the aspect of fire safety, in regards to cooking at home or that, if you would please. Thank you.
Through the chair, I don't have the specific number, but cooking fires are the #1 cause of fires in North America.
Anyone on my right? Yes, sir.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Oscar. Greetings from Congresswoman Tlaib's office. I am a legislative caseworker for the office, and I am here to pass on a couple little notes and some updates on how our offices are coming up. So we are looking for 4 service centers for the entire district, covering downriver, Detroit, and over here on this part of our district as well. And we've gotten 1 satellite so far up and running, which is in River Rouge right now. So we're still looking for their dates. I believe our district director, and I'm gonna have I have a list of our contacts that I can give you for the main folks to contact. Larissa Richardson, she believes she contacted or is in contact with someone to look at a building here in Westland as well, to have a satellite office here. And yeah, that the service centers are gonna be available for every citizen to be a little bit more connected to what's going on with their congressperson and what they're fighting for them in DC, instead of having just 1 or 2 district offices that they have to travel to, obviously, because our district is so big and vast. It'll be easier for folks to connect with their congressperson. For her DC priorities, just to let everyone know that the congressperson has voted 9 times, more than 9 times, to open the government. And I believe there was another vote today, I think, in the House. So just to let folks know that she is actively voting into opening our government during this shutdown. We also have co-sponsored legislation that will allow more of our residents to access the vote. And let's see, what else is there? Congresswoman Tlaib is also focusing on Justice for All Act, Medicare for All, and the Green New Deal, which are bills that directly impact families in our 13th district. And now I will go through just the important information, contact information. It is all on our website, but we also understand that a lot of folks in our district might not have access, unfortunately, to the internet or computers. So we want to make sure that everyone does have the district office phone number, which is 202-225-5126. And that is for the district office. The DC office is, let's see, here it is, 202-225, did I say that, 5126? Oh, it looks like it got it doubled on there. Yeah, all right, well, next council meeting, I'll make sure to get that updated. Thank you for your patience as well, folks, as we getting everything up, as we're getting the offices off the ground. Again, for me, my name is Oscar, and I will be a legislative caseworker, and then my phone number, folks, will be 313-938-2380, and then my email will be Oscar, my first name, O-S-C-A-R, dot Arbulu, which is A-R, B as in Bravo, U-L-U, at mail.house.gov. And Larissa's, which will be the district director as well, who'll be overseeing the entire district. Her email is Larissa, so L-A-R-I-S-S-A dot Richardson, so R-I-C-H-A-R-D as in Delta, S-O-N, at mail.house.gov. And that's all for me, folks. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Just for your knowledge on this, former Congressman Conyers had an office on Warren at Farmington, so I don't know whether that space may still be available.
Offline, I would love to get the address so I can shoot it to her, just to see. What?
Right.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Anyone on my left? Anyone on my right? Mr. Graham.
Richard Graham, Westland, also with Move Westland Forward. Make sure there's a clarification, Mr. Warren. On our political action committee and also Facebook page, Move Westland Forward, my wife and I definitely refuted any of the statements you made. And then secondarily, our lawyer advised us not to pursue this any further in any type of media outlets because it continues to leave the door open for any type of future lawsuits. So just for clarification, in case you might be confused. To continue, it is frankly a shame that over the last 48 hours of the really cold weather, that our city, Mayor Wild, has failed the residents in publicizing any warming centers that would be open. And in the case of 24 hours, just the lobby of the police department. Cities like Livonia and Wayne had those facilities open at least 24 hours earlier. I would urge council to try to figure out how they can help Mayor Wild because he doesn't seem to get a handle of this and isn't able to react quick enough. We saw it during the summer during the heat wave. Very slow to respond, very slow to react. So I would encourage council trying to help Mayor Wild out. Regarding boards and commissions, in our water bills is a flyer talking about the city and specifically volunteering to be on a board or commission, which is a great thing to participate in our city. There are many residents that have applied for these boards but have not heard from the city. I have asked this before, but with no response from the mayor. City Council, I would think filling these positions are important. So can you put some pressure on Mayor Wild to start filling these and reaching out to the applicants at a minimum who have applied? That would be really, frankly, the right business thing to do and the right thing from a compassionate standpoint. I know specifically for me, my sponsors, including a council member, have never been contacted. City Council, your thoughts? What will you do? Mayor Wild isn't here tonight. Deputy Mayor Reddy. This week is another mayor's conference in Washington, D.C. that has less than a 30% attendance rate. Mayor Wild or Deputy Mayor Reddy, do you know if Mayor Wild is going to this event this week? Is anyone else going from the city? Family, friends, etc.? Is there an agenda that has been published for the residents if he was going? Deputy Mayor Reddy? You can't respond? You don't know where he's at?
He can respond if he wishes during his comments at the end of the open discussion period.
Okay, not now, okay. 8 more seconds, not now? Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Anyone on my left? Anyone on my right? Anyone else in the audience? We'll close citizens' comments and move on to comments from the administration.
Thanks, Council President. Just a couple of short things. We want to thank the council for moving tonight for the adoption of the resolution for the federal workers on the water bills. We'll certainly look into the taxes, but we appreciate you. I know it was short notice. We got that out to you today, but we appreciate your adoption on that. And just a quick shout out to DPS this weekend on the snow emergency. The first one of the year, these girls did a bang-up job. They got right out there. I think on Saturday and Sunday we had 17 trucks out, which is, I think, the most we've ever had out, which is at the maximum amount of trucks I think we can put out. So they did a really good job. They had the roads cleared. They did the majors first, and they went into the locals. We did declare a snow emergency, and they got the roads cleared. So thanks for everybody's patience. But we had very few calls on the fact that the streets weren't getting plowed and salted. So again, they did a real bang-up job. And just a short note on the cooling or the warming centers. Obviously, everybody knows that we put warming centers out all the time when the extreme cold weather is. The lobby at the police department is always open. The ball during the day is open. Fire Station 1's open 24 hours a day. This is nothing new. I mean, we do it every year. The residents know. Again, probably the best warming center for if you're getting contacted by somebody that's out of power or something and it's your neighbor, would be your neighbor's house as a warming center. That's the best place for you to go. So the residents know that if they're out without power and it's cold, they simply call the city and they know we take care of them. So the residents at home know that, and you guys know that here. So I appreciate it and have a good night. Thanks.
Anything from the city attorney's office?
Thank you, Council President. I do have a few items. First, there was a question as to the resolution and what it covered. It covers unpaid federal employees or workers. It doesn't cover contract employees, does not cover businesses that do business with the federal government. It as it lays out, deals with unpaid federal employees and workers. Second, I just want to re-emphasize a comment made by Councilman Hertzberg as to his basis for his original motion, which was both circulation and the weekly versus bi-weekly nature of the papers. While there's been a lot of talk about other reasons, many from the citizens at large, those two appropriate reasons of circulation and publication dates should not be lost in that larger discussion by the public. Third, I want to talk about the tossed newspapers, if you will. Out of the last meeting you asked, and we did indeed send a letter to the Detroit Free Press attorney. We sent that on January 10th. Each of you received a copy of it by email, indicating that we wanted to see the 10,000 or the list of alleged opt-in. We specifically identified today as the date in which there was another council meeting, and we wanted to hear from Attorney Fink by that date. We have not heard from him. We will follow up, but I just wanted the public to know, you already know that that letter went out, but I want to let the public know that that occurred as well. You should also know, relative to the Observer, Eccentric, and Gannett, the Observer, the Observer recently retired or early bought out, pushed out the door, however you want to frame it, 11 journalists who wrote for the Observer Eccentric here at the local level. Those 11 journalists had over 300 years of experience in plying their trade. So these were the senior folks who have all been moved out of the Observer and Eccentric. What you also may or may not know is that there is a hedge fund which has a hostile takeover bid in play at the moment for the Gannett newspapers. The Gannett newspapers own the Observer Eccentric. The hedge fund that has the hostile takeover bid in play also owns controlling interest in the Detroit News. So if they buy Gannett, if they get Gannett in the hostile takeover, they will own both the News and the Free Press. The industry commentators has been, if that happens, then Detroit will lose one of those two papers. The reason neither of them are making money is there's two of them. They'll cancel out one of those. So whether or not Gannett gets taken over and the Free Press goes away and the Observer Eccentric somehow goes away, a lot of this is in play right now, is simply the point. I don't have an answer for what's going to play out, but it does put some context around our request for information and maybe some other things that they're worried about or working on over at Gannett. My last item I wanted to cover was the question raised on charter amendments, particularly relative to publication of official notices. Not only is there a provision in our charter that requires that, there's a state law that requires publication, which is defined by state law as newspaper publication. For many of the things that we do here at the city level, primarily think about it as your ordinances. That's what happens with your ordinances. That's how notice of ordinance change or new ordinances go out. And this problem, if you will, of newspaper publication and the possibility of doing this online instead has been talked about in Lansing for some time. And back in 2010, there was a proposal for a change in the law to allow this to happen. That bill died. Representative LeBlanc at the time was the chief sponsor of that bill and certainly can give you more context and history as to why that died. So there's a lot of complexity in the publication and moving from a newsprint publication over to a online internet publication. And some of that would have to be fixed in Lansing as well. And I think the clerk and I were talking about this before the meeting. And based on what he's told me, there's more complication than I was aware of. So that's all I had, and I don't know if the clerk wants to expand on that problem.
I've said enough today.
We'll move on to comments from the council. Councilwoman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to start by thanking Constantine and Lucian for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Also would like to congratulate our DPW department. They did a magnificent job on the snow removal. Thank you so much for your hard work, the late nights, and keep up the good work. I'd also like to, let me see. I'd like to state regarding the process in terms of if one of us would like to be heard during the council meeting, the process is to turn your light on. Our council president has a device that lights up and shows him anytime a light or somebody is requesting to speak. So specifically during the point of the meeting when I was addressed by Councilman Londo, who stated, well, what if somebody, in case somebody else wanted to speak, when in fact no one else had turned their light on or even attempted to make a comment after I spoke. Robert Rules of Order does not allow you to address me directly or to act as a spokesperson for a councilman or council person who has not even initiated the request to be heard. And so with that, I would ask that, respectfully ask, that you do not address me in that manner in the future, that you follow Robert's Rules of Order, and that if I am making a statement, I have just as much of a right to speak as the men that I sit here with, and I'm going to take that right. That is what the voters elected me to do. And for the next 3 years, I'm going to do a good job at it. So thank you. I would like to say that I am very pleased with the decision that we made as council tonight not to give the contract to the Eagle newspaper. I think that there is one thing to be opposed to a certain politician or party. I have my share of opposition, as we all do. But I think anyone or most people who read those articles, which again, allegedly, it was distributed to 20,000 copies on 2 different occasions throughout our city, most of which were not customers of the Eagle during our last election. So there was an intentional effort to put a front page article out to a good good percentage of our 85,000 residents twice, stating that 2 of our elected officials are not only connected to racism, but are on the in relationship with people who are on the edge, according to one person's opinion, who is Arthur Warren, the head of the Democratic Club, his opinion, on the edge of neo-Nazi. Now, when I see articles like that, I think in terms of if someone were to make a comment like that about me, unsubstantiated comment. It was terribly distasteful. I think it showed the character of the Eagle newspaper as a whole, and I hope this council or the next council never gives them another dime of the city's money. I also think that they have a responsibility to do their due diligence as opposed to letting a person who supports the other party or the other people to put an article like that together and then do a full newspaper, and every time you turn the page, you see one other person that this person is supporting, and then you see the vote for this. It was totally disgraceful. Black or white, it was wrong, and there's no proof. And what makes it even worse is that after you put that article out and accused them of being associated with, you basically called them racist. You then turned around as the Westland Democratic Club president less than 12 months later and gave him your endorsement after he lost the mayor's seat, which I don't know. I mean, everything happens for a reason. I'm glad the mayor won, and I'm glad Kevin is now our state representative. But he could have sued you. And just to speak to your statement at the podium, when you said no counter person wrote a counter piece, I will tell you that I spoke to Kevin about that article when it came out, and I encouraged him to speak to it because I knew the taste that it would leave in the mouth of African Americans who didn't know you or Kevin, but the fact that you are African American would lead, and the president of the Democratic Club and Mayor Weil has you on about 4 or 5 committees, it would appear that it was true unless people knew your character. So I encouraged him to do a counterpiece, but he chose to take the high road. He lost the mayor's seat, which again, I'm glad it turned out the way that it did. But my grandmother always told me to be careful when you choose to respond to someone, to lies and things against you. There are certain things that you should definitely address, which I believe Kevin should have addressed that, but today he's our state representative, so congratulations for taking the high road. But some people, they don't mind looking like a fool or making a complete idiot of themselves as long as they can make you look just as foolish with them. So that's when Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high, and don't meet a pig in the mud. That's what he did. He chose not to meet you in the mud, but he could have sued you because under slander, because he suffered a loss, which was that mayor's seat. He could have sued you, but he went on to greater things. So again, I'm so glad that we didn't give them the contract. I will never vote in favor of anything from an editorial who would take it from just politics to personal and accusing somebody of being a racist. It speaks to your character that you endorsed him after the fact. So you either knew it was a lie or your character speaks for itself. Finally, I would like to just say thank you for the people who made it out tonight to come to our meeting. The representative who is here from Rashida Tlaib's office, just so you know, if you come to future meetings, most representatives, there's a portion at the beginning of our meeting. If you didn't want to stay for the whole meeting, you can contact our clerk's office or our city council president and let them know that you would like to make a statement at the beginning of the meeting, just a general announcement. Several of our other elected officials do it, which will allow you to get in and out in the future if you chose to do so. But thank you very much. Have a good night.
Councilman Hammonds.
Thank you, Council President. Just quickly, I want to thank everyone who came out to the Martin Luther King ceremony yesterday. It was a great ceremony, and thanks for everyone that was involved in putting it on. Truly enjoyed the event and look forward to next year's. I also want to thank all of our DPS workers who worked throughout the night there in a snow emergency. Heard lots of great reviews. All the streets around my house and areas where I work within the city were cleared and cleaned, and it was done in a quick manner. So thank you to all of our DPS workers. You did an outstanding job. That's it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thanks. Councilman Johnson.
Nothing this evening, thanks.
Councilman Londo.
Thanks, President Gabel. I just got a couple things tonight. I also want to thank the DPS team. I thought they all did a great job, all the hardworking men and women of our city on getting the streets cleared in a timely manner. I also want to send a shout out to all the residents that actually moved their cars off the street. Driving down some of the streets today, there wasn't all those bunches of snow on the side of the road, so it looks like everyone moved their cars off the street. I also want to congratulate the team that put on the Martin Luther King Jr. event yesterday. I thought it was a great event, as always, and I want to commend the city for putting this event on for the past 20 years or so. You Drive, Kids Thrive is a partnership between North Brothers Ford and Wayne Westland Community Schools. Just want to make that announcement. For every new or used vehicle bought or leased, North Brothers Ford will donate $200 to Wayne Westland Community Kids to support fifth grade camp and after school activities. Made it out there last week for their partnership event. I just wanted to pass that along. I spoke earlier about the coffee hour. We had a great success. We got pounded with snow the day of, but I want to appreciate the about 30 so people that came out. I took a lot of notes, and I've already been following up on those notes today, and I've already tried to get as much of that done. Last two things, Council President. I just want to let everybody know the WIAA website is up for baseball. Veteran registration has begun, and new player sign-ups start on February 1st. If anybody wants any more information, you can go to thewyaa.com. And then also, the Wayne Westland Soccer League also has spring registration going on for kids 4 to 18 years old. They're all welcome. I think it ends on February 21st. You can go to www.slsoccer.com. And then lastly, I just want to ask for the community's prayers. A really close friend of mine lost their 1-year-old infant child. So, thank you.
Councilman Hertzberg.
Thank you. The city attorney covered quite a few of the notes I had. Thanks for the update. Or the updates on those items. I just want to make an announcement real quick. Again, State Representative Kevin Coleman and Senator Paul Hankey are having their coffee hour February 28th. That's at 6:30 at Tim Hortons on Michigan Avenue in the city of Wayne. And then I just want to also thank Oscar for coming from Rashida Tlaib's office. I hope to have a few words with you after the meeting if you're still here. Thank you.
I'd like to start this evening by thanking Constantine and Lucian Manthe, the two students from Taft Elementary, for doing a great job leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. I too would like to give our congratulations and thanks to our DPS workers who did a great job this past weekend clearing the snow. I received 0 phone calls, and this is the first time that I can remember when we've had a big snow that I've received 0 phone calls in regards to the cleanup efforts and what happens or what happened with our DPS workers. Those guys are out there in tough conditions, and they do a great job for us day in and day out. And not only do they plow snow, but they also handle an inordinate amount of water main breaks during this time of year. And there is nothing worse than trying to fix a water main in sub-zero weather. So hats off to our DPS crews. Yesterday's Martin Luther King Day event was a great success. I'd like to thank the staff and the organizers for all of their work putting it together, and also thank Andrew Humphrey for his keynote address. It was very good. It got everyone in the audience involved in his address, and it was a great morning event. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?